Welcome back to Connect with Jonathan Mark. We are back to doing unsolved cases with real families, real law enforcement. This one's kind of a cool one because I actually knew her for a completely different reason. When I originally read her, which was almost 5 years ago, it was to connect with her mother. And when we launched this show, she reached out and she said that she has an unsolved case. And I was a little blown away because I was like, wait a minute, I did a reading and I didn't see that. I'm like, am I losing it right now? I'm like, I don't even really know. So it turns out that it's her husband's grandfather that was unfortunately murdered. Now, the circumstances of this case is actually kind of crazy. It's in New York, my neck of the woods. So it definitely hit closer to home for me because I know exactly where this happened. Now, like I said, I was completely just blown away that I didn't pick it up, but it makes sense now because it was on her in-law side. Now, I was preaching, guys, to her that we have such a great community here and we help out so much. And she was really excited. And her mother-in-law was even more excited to hear this too. So if you can get any information on this case, please send it to connectjonathanmark@gmail.com or please DM me at Jonathan Mark Medium on Instagram. We will continue to help out so many families, and I'm really excited. So let's dive into this. Richard. Who's Richard to you?
So I have a father-in-law, Richard. My husband's grandfather is Richard.
So with this, to separate the both, and tell me if this is too much, but was someone set on fire,
Yes.
essentially? Because basically who's coming through is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he's putting handcuffs in front of me, showing to me it's like if someone was trapped in a room. And he is showing to me too, and he's smiling at this in the sense like it's been a whole world of looking, investigating, stopping, looking, stopping, looking, stopping is what he keeps showing to me. But really what this is, what he's showing to me is there's other cases that are even connected to his, because what he's showing to me is the same people have done multiple different things. Now, to him, who is the D name?
Yeah, so that's my mother-in-law, Darla.
Oh, so that would be her father then. Okay. So this is what I'm confused about. When this happened, was his body outside of did something explode? Because what he's showing to me is being chained and as if someone, and I'm not saying this is exactly what happened, he keeps tapping the oven. I don't know if the oven went off to explode, something happened where there was some type of explosion to a fire, it seems.
From what I've heard over the years, obviously that was my mother-in-law was a teenager. So what she has told me from the examiners and all that stuff is that they found pieces of him on the front porch. When they did the investigation, there was a lot of suspicious stuff that was with the oven, the oven was on.
Got it, because he keeps highlighting the oven, like I was saying, but what he's also showing to me too is, I want to ask you this, was he a state worker? For example, it would be a garbage man, a park person, someone who does in a public area, because he keeps talking to me about state workers is what he keeps saying to me. And he keeps saying to me also the time of his unfortunate passing, there's other, so I'm going to allude to this in some type of way, but you know how there's certain people that are very connected and they like to run certain sectors of whether it's state workers or whatever it is. Because what he's saying to me is wrong place, wrong time is what he's saying. And getting involved and kind of talking to wrong people, if that makes sense. Because what he's saying to me with that is, it's if you talk to someone and then you help them out with something so innocently, and then he's saying you're handcuffed to them, kind of. And that's what and the thing that he's showing to me too with that is, because he's putting the sirens in front of me, is that I think the police kind of knew that to some extent, which is why it wasn't that investigated. Because what he's saying to me, it's you don't want to get your hands dirty with certain people is what he's saying. And because he's showing me how, again, something so innocent turned into something massive. And just because he didn't want to do something. And what he's also showing me too about this crime scene is he's punching the door, saying that it wasn't necessarily like when someone breaks in, they kick down the hinges. It was really weird. It's like someone kind of just like walked, like there was like a walk-in kind of like the person just came in. And what he's also showing too with this is, which is crazy, is that he was alone when this happened, because he's saying he had a whole, like obviously your mother-in-law, like she was a teenager, she was his child, but aside from that, he was really alone. It's kind of like everyone, it was like perfect, like not the perfect crime or the perfect storm, but it seems like the right time. And it seems like he was watched, because what he's saying to me, he had eyes on him when he was working, when he was home. He can now officially see that there is like, he was always watching out. Do you know some of the suspects, if I was to say names and stuff of people?
I've only had bits and pieces from what my husband's uncle and my mother-in-law have told me. Just like random names she's tried to come up with, because I think that the police really just gave up immediately on her.
Yeah, because it seems like, and not to be like any like rude towards your mother-in-law, because that's nothing to do like that. It's kind of like if a teenager is trying to run a case or keep something open, it's like they don't, it's like the respect factor is what I'm seeing. Like there was no respect, because what they're showing to me is nicknames. It's called Pinky. You ever hear like someone's name like being called Pinky or something? It's kind of, the reason why is they keep going like this to me, saying it's literally the name of the finger, Pinky. But really, it's also what they're showing me. There's two names that I don't know if you know of. It's Robert, or the R name, and Frankie is what they keep showing to me. It's kind of like, it's people that are connected to this guy. It's, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a hierarchy, right? It's kind of like if you're in the mafia, there's certain different types of people, because I see it's a connected family. Like that's really what I see with it. And what I'm also showing, like what he's showing to me as well too, is aside from them not respecting your mother-in-law when she was a teenager trying to get answers, it seems it's not digging their nose into something that they shouldn't dig their nose to, is really what I see. It's kind of like trying to avoid another whole headache. But what he's also showing to me too, which is I think kind of crucial to this case, is there's another murder case that kind of happened relatively the same time as his. Because it seems like, and it's another state worker. It seems like it's another state worker. And he's saying it's similar but different. It's kind of like not playing ball with people is what he's showing to me. What he's coming across to me is like he had a pretty big moral compass of sorts. And it also seems like he was very well respected in his community, because he's saying that everyone knew everyone in the community. But like what he's also showing too is that it's kind of like there's not writing on the wall. It's more so like how did they F this up, right? Like, how did they like really screw this up is really what he's showing to me. And what he's also kind of expressing to me at the same time with this is, it seems like your mother-in-law, and aside from her brother or your, the people in the community also did not speak to, I see. Like there was like people that like also kind of shut them out. Because what he's showing to me is like that was something, a very hard pill to swallow on the other side, because he keeps it reiterating to me. It's like, not that he was a police officer, but he was very close with law enforcement in the local community. And he's saying that they all turned their back on his family. From his perspective, he feels like they kind of just dropped the ball a little bit. And what he's showing to me too is that, for one, bringing awareness to this case, from what I can see to him, is a big deal, because he's saying that it's kind of like it never happened, is what he's saying in the community. It's like 1 second you hear, in the next second it just like never happened. And he's like, where's this lag period, or where's this investigative period? But there's a lag period of it. And what he's kind of expressing to me too, he's laughing, saying it's like right under their nose. It's like people that are right under their nose. But again, because he keeps saying state and city is the two things. So he's saying they kind of coincide at the same time with like the case. So his case is the tip of an iceberg for a lot of other cases. And I will say this, because he's so happy that he's appreciating the fact that you're sitting here with me today to even speak about him, because it does seem that like even within the family, like as much as you guys talk about, it's not spoken about as much anymore, or really, it's like one of those things that's I'm assuming this, that it's too sad to even talk about. I am so happy that he came through, and I'm so happy he kind of like showed all this.
My husband never got a chance to meet him because he died before everything. And I believe he did work for the city. I believe he worked little odd jobs around the town, so he knew everybody.
He seems, from what he's showing to me, just very connected is the word I want to use. But he's also kind of showing to me at the same time, again, I know I said this, but it's important that the community turned their back on the family, is from what I see, because it seems like he did so much for the community. And I think they turned their back on it because I think they knew who was involved, and it's a scary thing. That's why I see like he's upset, but it's like he understands because he's a good person. Like he's not like someone that you would perceive to really be caught up with bad people.
My mother-in-law told me that my husband and him are a lot alike, like right down to the things they like to do.
Oh, really? Yeah, because he's just showing to me that he's just like over the moon happy that we're even talking about this right now, because he's saying what's going to happen. And I don't know if you know this, but the people that listen to the show are like detectives. I mean, they are like actual detectives, and they're going to like dive into this stuff and try to figure out stuff, because from his perspective, he keeps clapping and going like, you know, it's a big deal. But the pinky thing, I really have to tell you, that's a huge, huge thing for him. Huge. And another thing, which I want people just to go back to and look, is the timing of another murder. It seems like it's like within the same year, like, and similar with how gruesome it is. And the type of occupation, because what he's showing to me, like I said, his is like the tip of the iceberg. It's kind of like when someone wants to, and I know this is like what we see in movies and stuff, but really what he's trying to show me is like when someone tries to control the state workers, right? Like if you control the state workers, then you know what's coming in, what's coming out, you know what's going on, essentially. And I'm not saying like that to its fullest, but it definitely seems like, oh wow. Do you know that they like, because he's saying there was two people involved in his passing. Like it wasn't like a single person that came in and did it. Seems like there was multiple people. Do I think they all came in? No, because what he's showing to me is that it was a little too planned from what I see. Like things were a little too like, because like coming down from what I saw from, aside from the oven, but it's where he was placed, when it happened, like everything seems a little too premeditated, really. And he's saying to me that there's more than one person that was involved. And I think those are the names that when he was showing to me are the three people that need to be looked at. And again, when people listen to this, they're going to probably do their investigative, like sleuth things with it.
Those people.
That's what we want.
I'm one of those people.
That's what we want.
I know my mother-in-law had always told me, so in their evidence, obviously it's hard to go back that far, but I don't know if maybe you could ask him, or I don't know if there's something you could feel. Obviously the house burnt down, so she didn't get anything.
The police has more than one item,
because,
I see.
They won't give her a thing. She doesn't have one thing of her father's.
Yeah, it looks like there's more than just a wallet. It looks like other personal items, honestly, from what it looks like. And again, it could be as simple as a wedding ring or a watch or something like that, right? But what it seems is what was on his persons, like what he would have. And I also see like things, which is crazy, is not that things were stolen. It doesn't look like anything was like quite taken from the people that did this. It just looks like they did something horrible and left. But it looks like when the police came to look at the scene and to look at everything, they took things off of his personal self. And again, like aside from the wallet and stuff, it does look like it could be as simple as a watch, a ring, whatever. But it also looks like paper things too. Yes, things were burnt up, but you can read papers of things, because it seems like he keeps going like this to me, saying like he wrote a lot of things down. It's just like what he would do. But it also looks like he had a schedule of like work, when he worked and who he's working with. And those are the important things that were, I think, glossed over. And that's why he was reiterating to me about the importance of the community and how he helped that out. And he knew everyone because it did seem like he helped out in such a significant way.
So
It's
I
freaking crazy.
believe that my mother-in-law and her brother were 14, 15, or 16 because she said she was in high school. But she said it was Mother's Day, and they were all going to get together just because they were separated. Like, he lived in an apartment by himself.
Yep.
They ended up seeing the smoke and stuff like that, and he just burned up, and they ran over because it was just a few blocks away. His apartment was all burned, and the police people were in the front just like taking items and stuff like that. And they said that he was handcuffed to the bed.
Yeah, it just looks like it was extremely premeditated. Oh, I want to ask you this. Do you know any of the detectives on scene? Do you know who a William is or like a Bill?
I don't know for certain.
That needs to be looked at from what I see too, as part of, I think, the overall picture, because there's certain detectives that are even there now that know this case file, and there are more than one item or items, I will say. There's more than one. It needs to be given back. And I also see like they're not giving it back because they're saying that they're going to continue the investigation or the case is still like relatively open, whatever they want to like call it. But there's more than one item. It's not just the wallet.
Well, thank you for that, because being a little girl when she lost her dad, I lost my mom really a while ago too, and just to not have anything,
I'm so sorry,
from your parent, especially in a fire, not explained, and it looked like it was murder. You could tell it was homicide, but what is there? There's nothing there for any explanation.
Right. It's horrible. And, what I'm kind of gathering from like the whole thing, from like connecting with him and like chatting with him, is that, be careful with who you speak to, it seems like, because it seems that, you can get involved in something without even realizing you're getting involved in something. And, it's unfortunate because, again, I know I already said this, but his morals seem to be pretty good. Doesn't look like he was a bad person. It just seems like he was just really well connected in his community. And it also seems like because of his job as a state worker, and he keeps saying like timing, right? It's like the timing of when he was working with other state workers, it's going to open up more and more cases. So like that's what I was gathering from talking with him and just chatting or letting him come through. I am so appreciative that you came on, and I'm so appreciative that you are letting me share this story. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lacey, thank you so much for trusting me to really come on and to share this story. And guys, as you can hear, it has been really hard in their family to get any answers, to really just get any items. It's kind of a crazy story. So let's help Lacey and her family out. Let's do some research. Let's dig into this case, guys. Please send me an email at connectjonathanmark@gmail.com if you have any information on a case, or if your family or someone that you know has been affected by any unsolved case. We want to help out as many people as we can. And you can also DM me on my Instagram at JonathanMarkMedium. Guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. And please do not forget to rate, review, and follow the show. All right, guys, I'll see you next week.